March of 2021 was when you started your medical transition. What does it mean to you to be sitting here pretty much 1 year later, given everything that you've been through? What is it like?
That is 100% accurate. March 2nd of 2021 was when I started my medical transition. And I remember that day very clearly, primarily because it was the day after my mom's birthday. And it was just a really exciting time. I remember feeling so confident going in and, starting and pushing the green button and saying, let's get this going. It was such a long wait and such a long thought process. It's not something that is just all willy-nilly, like one day you're like, great, it's happening, let's go. Like there's so many different steps you have to go through, some good, some bad. It was a big day for me. And unfortunately, on March 2nd, 2021, everyone in my family was like working, had school, had everything going on. And so I actually went to my appointment by myself, which was kind of a really weird moment, but it was actually pretty special. I was bummed at first, but realized that everyone was supporting me like tenfold. My mom, my dad, my friends, my younger sister. It was still COVID times pretty intensely, so we were all home and in Arizona. It was weird because I felt like I could experience it for what it needed to be for myself because I was alone, but also felt that support from family and friends. And it was a big day. I remember getting in the car after being like, did we just hit the green light? Like, am I actually driving? I mean, it's not as glamorous, but I'm like, am I driving to Walgreens to pick up my hormones right now? Or am I like, it was just like it was such a cool day with so many different emotions.
I would probably think that there are some really exciting parts and then some parts that are also really challenging. What kind of stands out to you on both ends?
I've always lived this really awkward in the middle, like half famous, half not life for so long. And I'm like the first one to admit that I'm not like precious about my ego or anything like that. I'm human, I have vanity, but I would say I've always lived in that awkward gray area where sometimes I'm, sitting here and doing these interviews, and then a couple hours ago, I was up like at 8 a.m. doing an intern job, and I'm honestly really grateful for that because it shows me the value of both. It shows me the value of being able to, grow on your own and figure out what that means for you as an individual, but also what kind of power and what kind of change you can make by sharing your story and just being visible to the public eye. After high school, I really jumped like kind of out of most of what I was doing that was in the public eye, that even towards the end of high school. And I went to college, I went to USC, was kind of training in dance more than I had been in my whole life, but definitely out of, the public eye, and was pretty out of it for a long time, and just kind of was ricocheted back in by complete accident a year ago. That really showed me how many people really needed to hear an honest, realistic depiction of what it means to be transgender in this time. I can speak from a very privileged spot, being a lot of different things, being white passing, having a supportive mom and dad, having the finances to medically transition and afford a social transition as well, clothing, makeup, hair care. There's so much that goes into it. I think the biggest standout on the positives of transitioning publicly and talking about it so publicly is also hearing the good that you're doing. I'm a very big person who believes in the power of children and believes in the power of the youth. And so when I hear and get DMs, messages on, my public email or my Instagram account from these parents, that are like, you saved my kid, or our family watches your videos all the time, or, you just being yourself and posting a story of you in the grocery store is, making my kid more confident stepping into the world as their true and honest self. And that brings me, like, honestly, more joy than anything I've ever done. And I'm not, it's so cliche, but it's just so true. It's just, I do it for, young people and for people of all ages who need that boost, because I need that boost and I have the people I look to for that boost. And so I hope to be that for others. And When thinking about the negatives of it, one thing that comes to mind is, just being scrutinized too, always being worried about what others are thinking and, what people think of you. I've always had a really big insecurity about, being in that half famous, half not world. And for a while, I always was like, are people judging me for leaning into it? Are people judging me for not leaning into it? Are people saying hurtful things about, my identity? And there's just so much to it that it gets very overwhelming and very exhausting.
Was this a journey though that you always knew was meant for you, or was your identity kind of something that you came to embrace about yourself over time?
I came into this for sure, slowly and gradually because of my circumstances. I came out when I was 15 years old as gay, and I had a boyfriend at the time. It wasn't really that big of a deal, to be honest. In my family, we all kind of had an inkling, and we were like, all right, she's going to do that and it's going to be fine. And it was pretty easy. And then I was training and working so much that I just didn't have time to sit and think about who I was becoming necessarily. I just knew that I had these really big career and academic goals. And that's what I focused on. I didn't focus on like personal development or like mental health or anything like that. It just wasn't a conversation in happening for me. And when I got to college, because I had all these amazing friends that, were growing into themselves, and I was like, oh, I have some growing to do. And that's when I realized that the he, him pronouns, the identifying as a male and as a boy, was certainly not happening for me. And I came out as non-binary. And that for me was really just the start of the honest conversation that I needed to have with myself. And I always say, non-binary is a very valid identity for everyone who identifies like that and continues to practice that. But, for me, it was a little bit of a transition period and a moment and a space for me to experience and understand what it means to not identify with, the binary that we've been taught to believe. And then I was like, all right, the body is happening. I remember like I was doing a video shoot for my company, Continuum Community. I had this outfit on and I was like feeling really cute. And my mom had done my hair differently because I like unintentionally started growing out my hair. And I was like, oh, she's kind of looking good right now. My mom was like, oh, are we doing she? And I remember that just got the wheels like turning. I was like, oh, she, her, we got some changes to make. And so that was like really the spark of like that conversation. And then that led us to, coming out to some closer friends and family, March of 2021. And I think I posted it on Instagram, but then, really hitting the ground running when I posted on TikTok publicly, and decided that there was a really big opportunity for me to be honest and candid about this transition for young kids. And I always say, I'm a transgender woman for sure, obviously, but, I'm also Lennon, who is a transgender woman, and that's not my entire identity. I have other things that I'm doing. I have other things, it's just a part of me. And I think when I think of Trans Day of Visibility, I hope that all the news coverage or any, stories and the work and the research people do on that day to, respect and honor the people who have brought us to where we are can remember that and can, just be exposed to it more and more so that it's not some crazy, thing that we have to, sit and learn about. I can't wait till it's just mainstream and it's not a weird thing that, needs to be talked about. It's real, it's happening, it's not going anywhere. And that's that.